Gamefreak's DLC for Pokemon. Is it a good thing? Or is it a money grabber? Which is what the fun kids like to call it nowadays because they have this amazing opinion. But I'm not actually against it. They may actually be right, and it could be something bad or something good. But I'm going to tell you my actual honest thoughts on the Game Freak DLC. And I feel like I have a good take on it. So obviously before we begin, make sure y'all shank that like button and let me see if any of you guys agree on what I'm about to say. If not, you let me know your thoughts in the comments below. To start off, let me try to reel you in. Let me try to bait you in. Let me just say the bottom line here. Game Freak doesn't do post games anymore. This is the big thing. The main idea that's coming out there is that it's almost like they're offering what should have been in the post game as payable DLC. But this is what I kind of noticed. If you look back at the past few Pokemon games, there's no post game. X and Y didn't have a post game, and it was the first game that actually had that. Black 2 and White 2 had a lot of post game areas that you couldn't access till after. White Forest, Black City, the Tower, Benja and his level 80 dragons and stuff. And there are a bunch of legendaries in Black 2 and White 2. I think even the Reggies are in there. Cut to Sun and Moon, no post game again. Aside from the Ultra Beasts are roaming in Route 1. Cut to Sword and Shield, oh, what a surprise, there's no post game. For some reason, Game Freak does not do post games anymore. So it's like it's not worth their time, or I don't know if it's true or not, but the fabled Game Freak's staff can't handle it. Tell me this king, this emperor that exists in the world known as Pokemon, that has the anime going for it, the trading card game, all these tournaments, and just all this clout and all this power in their hands, that they can't sort out a problem where their staff can't handle a game. Game Freak has decided they don't do post games anymore. It's either not worth their time, it's not worth their money, or like Monster said in that interview, they think that people don't play a game after it's beaten, and it's not worth programming the Battle Frontier in when there's a bunch of other games that exist. And obviously that's not a good excuse, but I think that's actually what they're trying to do. When people say that they cut out the post game and are now selling it as a separate DLC, I don't think that's actually the case. I think what we got in Sword and Shield was all we were supposed to get in terms of what was supposed to be sold up front, just like X and Y and Sun and Moon. But what the good in what Game Freak does by introducing it as a DLC is that if it's apparently not worth their time, because they could be working on the next games, so why work on a post game in their minds, then making it a DLC is a good thing. Wait, I'll tell you the truth in a sec. It's a good thing because Game Freak since 2013 has never made a post game. If you notice, the only exception is in Oraz. All I can chalk it up to with Oraz is it's an exception because it's a game remake, and they wanted to add that little taste in at the end. Let's not overlook that the Delta episode killed it. It was such a good post-game story arc. To go off on a tangent, they turned that Rayquaza on Skypillar sleeping thing into a whole thing, expanding the Mega Evolution lore, introducing Xenia and her being the descendants that try to befriend Rayquaza essentially. Oh, and making the Deoxys Island canon, to the main story. You get to see Deoxys coming down instead of him crashing down later on and making Birth Island, depending on what really happens. But pretty much Game Freak doesn't do post games anymore. So regardless of whether we were going to get this DLC or not, this was either going to be the entirety of Sword and Shield, which ends with Shieldbird and Swordward, and then we would be getting the next Pokemon games. But instead of that, they're releasing this DLC. And there's two things that come out of the fact that we're paying for it. One, it sucks that we have to pay for it, but two, because we have to pay for it, they have a certain standard they have to uphold. They have to make it worth the money. So when they're in their studios working on this, they put actual work into it instead of just half-assing it. They can't make it seem like content you would get in a free update. It would actually have to be worth your money, and they have to uphold their end of the bargain by making it pay DLC. So in a sense, we're paying more money for a DLC, but we're getting an actual post game out of Game Freak, who's been refusing to do a post game since 2013 for some reason. But now, this is where the reality comes out of it. To be as unbiased and impartial as possible, because I feel like I want to support Pokemon. I want to keep supporting them, and I don't want to be someone who's just bashing them because it's fun, or bashing them over the tree, which is a sucky looking tree. There's so many beautiful games out there, but I just don't personally care. But to be as impartial and unbiased as possible, it does suck to be in the current situation we are right now, have Game Freak be offering these paid DLCs. And let me explain. I am so happy that the DLC got announced because I was convinced Game Freak just doesn't do post games anymore. So I would rather, in some magical way, that Game Freak does post games again. And if they're making you pay for it, it's better than nothing. It's better than in X and Y when there was the mysterious power plant, the locked door, the ghost girl, and the conspiracy of someone who left this eerie message on the train station. All these theories were gathering up, and then there's just no answer. There's no answer to any of those questions. In Sun and Moon, we formed all these theories again, and it just didn't get explained. There's so many things we're speculating, even in Sword and Shield. The little ghost girl who's like time traveling or something. What Eternatus really is. As well as when you read the Pokédex entries for Zacian and Zamazenta, there's seemingly a girl and a boy that got their Sword and Shield from like a grandpa who had both the Sword and Shield, is what we can apply. So imagine having all these speculations and theories and ideas, and you're never just gonna have the answer. I love theorizing regardless of what kind of story it is. So I'm always pissed when Game Freak just doesn't answer the question and the next games come out. So it was a godsend that somehow the game is gonna be able to continue past its release date. That instead of Game Freak working on the Gen 9 Pokemon games or Sinnoh remakes, they can back a bit and continue to work on these games because they can still get a profit. When you have games like Heart Gold and Soul Silver that lasted at least 40 hours for so many people and made the players feel happy with their save files and how much time they put into their game, when you went from that, which was $40 Heart Gold and Soul Silver, to Pokemon Sword and Shield, which in Canada is $79.99, there's just something not right. Something very obvious that's not right. And I don't know if Game Freak clearly knows, right? This DLC is a godsend, but I think that people have the right to be kind of pissed at this DLC. And let me explain it like this. So the Sword and Shield post game with Zacian and Zamazenta, let me start with this, was good. I did like it, but in my eyes, compared to the rest of the game, it wasn't given proper passion. It felt like the last thing they worked on in the game before they released it. The least that they should have done in that post game was Shieldbird and Swordsbird should have had this custom royal theme, considering they're, at least blood-wise, the descendants of the people who the statues are made of. Even if they suck, and they have strong Pokemon because they bought them, it needs more finishing touches or it feels lifeless. Imagine taking out Xenia's theme in the Doubts episode. You know how much flavor that one theme added? They had so much fun in Sword and Shield, making Hop the first rival, excluding N, to get a legendary Pokemon and literally rise to being one of the two current versions of the heroes. And if you go back to the Pokemon League rematch, I never did this, I saw that he actually keeps his legendary. So Hop, canon-wise, is one of the heroes in the current generation. I think they had fun and they put passion into this game, and it was very cool. I loved the game, but it's after you become champion that it gets a little unusual. Let me say this, and then you'll realize whether what Game Freak did with this DLC is good or not. So even if they didn't add more flavor, imagine just more happened in the post game. Like after that arc happened, even without the custom themes, another arc happened right after that. Like Shieldbird or Swordward is attacked, and let me make this up, there's an unknown party that attacked them to bait you out. Someone evil. Imagine Hop goes on ahead, and when you go to this place, you find out that evil person has this artifact that messed with Zamazenta's head that Hop has and causes him to lose the battle. He can even mention that Hop would have beaten him if he didn't have that, just because Hop's supposed to be the second strongest trainer in the whole world. Make him try to fight you, and when you beat him, he tries to use the artifact to weaken your legendary Pokemon as well. And then Leon comes and saves you. Let's say having Zacian and Zamazenta becomes a weak point for you. So Leon come in and saving the days because he doesn't have Zacian and Zamazenta. Let's say Evil Dude retreats, and then you get a hint from Shieldbird that you just saved about who this mysterious person is and what his plans are. And maybe you get to follow him back to this like Galar Shrine area. And maybe when you go there, he has the artifact in his hand, he holds it up high, and in the shrine, this ancient Pokemon comes out of the shrine. There are more legendaries than just the cover legendaries, you know, Pokemon. You know, a mythical Pokemon that was enshrined here, and it literally exists in the statue, and the artifact brings it to life. And let him use this massive legendary against you. You can have this insane, cool boss battle against him where he uses it, and maybe you beat him, and he tosses the artifact down the cliff, and he gets arrested by the police. And that's the end of the arc. And now you can go down to Galar, find the artifact, and bring it back to the shrine, and whoa, catch this legendary mythical Pokemon. Wow, does not sound like flavor. Or better yet, maybe when you beat him, like the Dragon Balls, it splits into 3, and 3 caves open up with little mythical Pokemon, little Cobalion or Azov like mythical Pokemon, and you gather all 3 of them. Well, they're not mythical, they're legendary. You catch all 3 Pokemon and you come back to the shrine, and as like the equivalent of the artifact, it awakens the sleeping Pokemon again, and this time you can capture and catch it. I mean, you can fight and capture it. The same legendary this evil dude had. That's the post-game arc. Imagine the Shieldbird stuff happened and then this happened after that. It feels like a post-game, right? Now, let's keep going. What about like 3 caves around the region that open at certain times? Like, you know, the weather caves that open in Hoenn. At certain times, a Kyogre and Groudon cave open, right? Maybe a cave opens around 3 different spots and you could find Raikou, Entei, and Suicune in them. Post-game legendaries are a thing, you know? Like the Reggies in Black 2 and White 2, the legendary birds in Platinum. Let's go even further. Imagine if you explore the Galar region, you can find Professor Oak standing in places, an Easter egg, and he tells you about a phenomenon in certain areas, or gives you tasks telling you to go check out places for him, and maybe you find certain rare Pokemon there, or after you do all 5 tasks, he thanks you and goes back on his way home but gives you an item. You can't imagine Professor Oak like standing in these weird places you can explore. Maybe one in the wild area, maybe one in the slumbering wheel. Who knows, maybe the item he gives you opens up a new cave where Mewtwo can be found. Oh, what's that? Mewtwo again, the idiots say? How about there is no post-game at all? Yes, I'll take Mewtwo again. It's not about Mewtwo, it's about the content. All of this is content to play. Mewtwo became a raid event anyway, so don't say, oh, no Mewtwo again. And Mew is in the Pokeball Plus again, so don't say no Mewtwo again. Besides, I said Mewtwo because it relates to the vibe you get from Oak. It's Kanto, and Mewtwo likes to hide alone in caves. Why can't Mewtwo hide in a cave? Just coincidentally, after you do this Oak quest. There's deserts all around Galar. You put a Victini event in Black and White. You tell me you can't put a Hoopa just there? Because Hoopa has dex entries leading to the desert? Fine, Hoopa's a mythical, leave that around. On top of all this, imagine if in Pokemon Sword, you can rarely, almost like the legendary beasts in Johto, find Tornadus in the wild area, and Thundurus for Pokemon Shield, but not just randomly, literally roaming around. Like those creepy Pokemon that are roaming around, Steelix, Beware, you literally see a Tornadus roaming around, and you go and chase after him, and he flies away when you push A on him, and after chasing after him and spotting him 5 times, he appears somewhere in the wild area to catch now. Maybe like those stone structures, where there's a bunch of weird Stonehenge structures. Maybe he appears there interactable to capture now. This is content. It's not even about the legendaries I'm picking itself, it's just content. We have fun of the idea that we can do these things. It's not about getting the Pokemon specifically. That's the difference between a Wi-Fi event giving us Mewtwo, and why not have Battle Brains? There's this whole Pokemon Tower. You can't tell me Leon had like old friends. Game Freak knows when they release this game that Mustard exists. The dude who trained Leon. You can tell me Mustard didn't have like 4 other people he trained, 4 other colleagues of Leon that could come down as the Battle Brain. You tell me Leon didn't have all these strong friends that were trained by the old champion, Mustard. Mustard's lore existed, Pokemon just didn't tell us yet. And if we'll make the game better, please just pull it out of your ass and put some Battle Brains. Who's climbing the Battle Tower to see nobody? I go crazy when I play the Battle Tower in Emerald. The Battle Frontier, I'm trying my best to get to the Battle Brain, but I suck. The best chance I had was in the Battle Factory, but even then when I got a chance to see that dude, it was just mad. And in Platinum or Pearl, when I saw the dude, and I didn't know he was your rival's father, I'm just like, bro, this is sick. It's insignificant if you think about it in the bigger picture, but it's content to play and things to work up to. Imagine they threw a little foreshadow for Kubfu and Deerhead. People talking about these weird birds they saw flying around the region. Or maybe some people say they can feel these weird earthquakes as if caves have been opened around the region. A foreshadow to these DLCs. These foreshadows would give us situations where we're wondering something like Volcanion being in the power plant, and then in the DLC, we feel rewarded when they give a reason to that hint. You don't have to do that last part, but imagine all of this I said was real, and all of this content did exist in the game, and people could play this for days to weeks after becoming champion. People could be proud of their save files and continue to actually play this game. And then January of 2020 hits, and they show these DLCs. See, this entire thing just sounds like a fantastic game. It'd get high ratings, and the idea that they've announced these DLCs and are adding even further content would be absolutely mind-blowing. Pokemon would literally be getting Game of the Year, bro. But no, they're doing the borderline. Everything I said does not exist. Come back to reality. Snap, oops, there goes gravity. None of that happened. None of that is real. Remember, now realize what we did get in the games, and that these DLCs are coming now. I truly do not know if it's actually this hard to make the new games. If it's so hard that all of this truly cannot be done, there's a problem here. Because you've upgraded the price to $80 Canadian in my currency here, and you're just asking to get angry fans. I'm not an angry fan. I'll try my best to support you. But you're asking to get all these groups forming about how they're so pissed and they're calling Gamefreak greedy. You're asking for it. I want to call them idiots because a lot of them just like to have stuff to criticize, but they're right in some of their criticisms. So you've upped the price to $80 Canadian, but the content, is there something wrong with the content? If you don't realize what the right choice is to make, you're gonna tarnish the name of Pokemon. See, imagine all of this was real, and we're enjoying DLC season all the more, waiting for these birds to come, Regis to come, and add even more content on top of all of this. What I said wasn't actually much if you think about it. I mean, from a designing point of view, it's a lot of content, but in terms of how hard is it to make an Oak model, bro? He just stands in different parts of the game. How hard is it to have Tornadus roaming in the game? Since you made the game, it's easiest for you to do this, to just do these tasteful things that make an actual post game. And these are your own patterns that I'm throwing back at you. And then even past this, when 2021 comes and we're anticipating the next titles getting revealed, well, no, yo, Game Freak is throwing juice in these titles. There's a full game, there's full post game, and they're starting to do DLCs now. It would add all the more hype. You'll look back and be like, yo, Sword and Shield were juicy games, were fantastic games. These 2021 titles are gonna be insane. You don't wanna keep doing borderline crap Game Freak because the fan base deserves better, and the hype that Pokemon is deserves better. You're using the hype of Pokemon's name and then giving this product. Your own legacy deserves better. The anime, TCG, merch, and Japanese spin-off shows all depend on this. Why can't it be just a massive banger? You can charge money for the DLCs. Like I said earlier, it makes it an incentive for developers to not be able to be lazy and have to make something worth paying money for. But make a full-fledged game first, and so that this actually feels like a DLC, like downloadable content, not the rest of the game, or not what was missing from the game. So you let me know what you think. What are your actual thoughts on this? I have so many other things that Game Freak is not doing that I want to talk about in a video, but this just ain't the video. Things that if they did would just blow people's minds, and is the actual transition they needed to make when they went from 2D Pokemon, 2X and Y, to now, to what is supposed to be 3D Pokemon on a total different level. The things they're missing, I know what they're missing. I've made a whole list of them, but this just ain't the video to cover it. But you guys let me know your thoughts, where you stand on this. I try to be as impartial as possible. Listen, I'm gonna support Game Freak. I'm not gonna be a yes man, obviously, but I like to just at first enjoy what they're giving, enjoy what they crafted for us, and then take a critical stance on it after. I can say I enjoyed Pokemon Sword and Shield, but as you can see by what I've said in this video, you can see the big problem with content in terms of that game. Of course, shank that like button if you enjoyed, share this around, let me know your friends' opinions. I want to hear a bunch of opinions on this. Well guys, that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed. Take care.